What would you do if silence became your worst enemy? I never thought I'd be afraid of quiet, but there I was, standing in my living room at 3 a.m., listening to the deafening absence of Marcus's laughter. The house felt like a tomb, every corner holding memories that refused to fade, every shadow whispering his name. Marcus had been gone for 2 years. 2 years of learning how to breathe without him. How to sleep in a bed that felt ocean-wide. How to cook for one when every recipe had been made for two. The grief counselor said it would get easier, but she lied. Some nights, I swear I could still hear his footsteps in the hallway, still catch the scent of his cologne lingering in our bedroom. Have you ever felt so alone that you'd do anything, absolutely anything, just to feel connected again? That's when the idea hit me, a dog. I'd never been an animal person, that was Marcus's thing. But maybe, just maybe, a companion could fill the gaping void in my chest. The local shelter was a symphony of barking and whining. But one kennel stood silent. Inside sat the most unremarkable dog I'd ever seen, scruffy brown fur, mismatched eyes, and an expression that seemed almost knowing. The nameplate read, Shadow. When our eyes met, something shifted. He didn't jump or wag his tail like the others. He simply tilted his head, studying me, as if he could see straight through to my wounded soul. Then, without warning, he pressed his nose against the cage bars, a silent plea that broke something inside me. What do you think draws us to certain animals? Is it instinct or something deeper? Before I knew it, Shadow was padding through my front door, his claws clicking against the hardwood floors Marcus had installed. He explored every room methodically, as if mapping out his new territory. I followed behind, my heart heavy with hope and hesitation. That first night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, waiting for the sadness to creep in like it always did. But it didn't. Instead, I felt a weight at my feet, Shadow curled up like a guardian, his breathing steady and grounding. For the first time in months, I didn't cry myself to sleep. Days turned into weeks. Shadow and I fell into a rhythm. Morning walks, shared meals, evenings on the couch. He never barked, never begged. He simply was. Constant presence. A silent witness to my pain and slowly my healing. But then strange things started to happen. One night I woke to find Shadow standing at the foot of the bed, ears perked, eyes locked on the doorway. I followed his gaze, nothing there. Just darkness. Till he didn't move. He stayed alert for hours, like he was protecting me from something I couldn't see. Then came the objects. Marcus's old flannel shirt, missing for months, suddenly appeared on the hallway floor. A photo of us from our honeymoon fell from the wall, unshattered as if gently placed. Shadow was always nearby when these things happened, watching me with those mismatched eyes. Was it grief playing tricks on me or something else entirely? One evening I whispered into the air, "Are you here, Marcus?" My voice cracked, fragile and foolish. Shadow stood up, walked to the empty corner of the room and sat. He tilted his head, just like he had in the shelter, staring into space. And then he wagged his tail. I began to talk to Marcus more often after that. Quietly when no one could hear. In the kitchen while making coffee. On our evening walks through the woods. I'd murmur memories, questions, apologies. And every time Shadow would react, ears twitching, body alert, tail thumping when I said his name. I started sleeping better. Smiling, even laughing sometimes. My sister noticed it on one of her visits. "You seem lighter," she said, stirring sugar into her tea. I glanced at Shadow, curled at my feet. "I guess I'm not as alone as I thought," I replied. Till part of me feared I was losing my mind. Until the night the fire alarm went off. It was 3 a.m. I jolted awake to Shadow barking, loud, frantic, urgent. Smoke snaked through the hallway. A forgotten candle. I stumbled out, disoriented, choking. Shadow grabbed the sleeve of my shirt with his teeth and pulled hard, leading me through the thick haze and out onto the porch. The fire didn't spread far. The firefighters said it was lucky I got out in time. But I knew it wasn't luck. It was him. It was Marcus. Over time, Shadow and I became inseparable. People in town began to notice. "There's something about that dog," Mrs. Halvorson from the bakery said one morning, handing me a cinnamon roll. "It's like he knows things. Sees right through you." I just smiled. She had no idea how right she was. Every Sunday, we'd visit Marcus's grave. I'd sit and talk, Shadow lying beside me, calm as ever. "I still miss you," I'd whisper. Shadow would nudge my hand, his eyes full of knowing. It wasn't the same as before. Never could be. But it was something new. Something healing. I started sleeping again. Eating again. Living again. Not because the pain was gone, but because Marcus had found a way back. In this world of chaos and loss, some bonds defy explanation. Some stories aren't meant to make sense, they're meant to be felt. And I felt him. Every day. Through the rustle of leaves. Through the steady rhythm of paws on the earth. Through a dog's loyal gaze that saw my soul and never looked away. One evening, as the sun dipped below the hills, casting a golden hue over the porch, I sat with Shadow at my feet. The silence was soft, almost sacred. And then, without warning, Shadow lifted his head and stared into the horizon. "What is it, boy?" I asked gently. He didn't bark. Didn't move. Just stared, eyes locked on something I couldn't see. And then I heard it. A laugh. Faint, warm, unmistakable. Marcus's laugh. Tears welled up instantly, but I didn't cry out. I just listened. Listened as the wind carried that sound to me like a gift. Shadow nudged my hand again. I looked down, and for a second, just a breath, I saw it. Not just Shadow's eyes. Marcus's. Alive in him. Full of light, of love, of that quiet mischief that used to drive me crazy and make me fall in love 1,000 times over. It was then I knew. This wasn't about ghosts or magic or something borrowed from beyond. It was about love. Enduring, unshakable love. Kind that refuses to be buried. After that night, I no longer questioned the bond between us. Shadow became more than a companion. He was my memory keeper. My daily reminder that grief doesn't erase love, it transforms it. He'd follow me around the garden where Marcus used to plant wildflowers just to see me smile. He'd rest his head on my lap when I read old letters I still couldn't throw away. And sometimes when I played that song Marcus used to hum while cooking, Shadow would tilt his head and softly whine. As if remembering, too. People say dogs don't understand. That they don't grieve like we do. But Shadow did. In every quiet moment, in every silent comfort, he held the weight of what was lost, right beside me. And in doing so, he helped me carry it. The years passed, and the sharp edges of pain softened. I still missed Marcus with every beat of my heart, but the ache had changed. It no longer drowned me. Became part of me, like the scar from a healed wound. Shadow aged beside me. His black fur turned silver around the muzzle. His pace slowed, and his eyes, though tired, never stopped watching me with that same quiet devotion. One winter morning, I found him curled by the fireplace, breathing slow and shallow. I knelt beside him, whispering stories of the man we both loved, of the nights we survived, of the memories we held. He looked at me with those soft, knowing eyes, and with one final sigh, he was gone. I buried Shadow beneath the old oak tree in the yard. The same tree Marcus had planted the year we bought the house. I placed his collar beside a worn photo of the three of us, Marcus, Shadow, and me. The house was silent now, but not empty. It held echoes. Footsteps down the hall. A low bark in my dreams. A laugh that lingered on the porch. And then one spring morning I heard it. A soft bark from beyond the fence. I stepped outside and found a muddy puppy staring up at me, wagging its tail, eyes wide with mischief and wonder. I didn't know where it came from, but I smiled. Not because it filled the hole left behind, but because somehow it reminded me, Love doesn't die, transforms. I named him Echo, not because he replaced Shadow, but because he carried his memory in every bark, in every clumsy step, in every gaze that said, I see your sorrow, and I'm here. Sometimes healing doesn't arrive with fanfare. Sometimes it crawls into your lap, covered in dirt, with paws too big for its body, and eyes too full of trust. I still visit Shadow's grave, still talk to Marcus when the stars blink awake, still cry sometimes, but now I also laugh again, walk again, hope again, because in the silence that once suffocated me, a new heartbeat echoes, and I finally understand. Grief is love with nowhere to go, till it finds its way back home.